In the summer of 2004, I was on my first break from college. I had just completed my freshman year, and I was missing being away from my new college friends. One Saturday night in July, my college friend Julianne from out of town was having a birthday party. She wanted to invite lots of friends to a motel room for drinking and hanging out. I was kind of a late bloomer and really just started driving my freshman year of college. Back then I was naive and apparently had a look of friendliness and helplessness, as I always tended to have strangers trying to talk to me or come to my aid when I really didn't need anything. I was excited to be going to this motel room party. I arrived in the late evening. It was at a Motel 6 outside of downtown, near an area that used to be a shopping mall but had just started its descent as a new mall was being put in on the other side of town. I'm thinking she chose that motel due to the price because it wasn't near our college or near anything that you'd want to be near, unless she planned on doing some shopping the next day. There weren't that many cars at the motel. I got out and went up to the second floor where her room was located at the corner near the entrance to the parking lot from the frontage road. There weren't many people in the room and it was a typical motel room with 2 queen-sized beds, a bathroom and a TV. I remember taking a beer and having a few sips. I was feeling slightly uncomfortable. That was mostly because the usual college pals weren't there and we weren't doing our usual thing. Normally, my boyfriend and his roommate would be hanging out and we'd watch a weird movie or have an interesting conversation. This time it was just people talking and drinking. Kind of boring for my tastes. Plus, I'm a pretty major introvert. I was kind of looking for an out, and when there was a lull in conversation, I told Julianne and her boyfriend John that I had to go. They walked me to the door and we said a few goodbyes while we stood on the balcony overlooking the parking lot. While we were talking, a taxi cab pulled up to the motel right under the balcony where we were standing. I looked down as a man got out of the back of the cab. The alarming thing was that as soon as he got out, he stood and looked straight up at me, staring. He had no expression on his face, nor did he make a move to go where he was headed or even to pay the cab driver. The cab took off and he just stood there staring at me. He began to smile in a very creepy way, like he knew he was scaring me and he enjoyed it. But at the same time, it was like there was no one home in his eyes. He looked at me as if I was the only one there and as if he expected me. Like in some parallel universe he was supposed to find me. Like that was his whole night's purpose. It was unnerving. But then he walked off. We kind of joked about it and then I went down to get into my car. I unlocked my door, put my purse in the passenger seat, and just as I did that, a car pulled up right behind my car as if to block my exit. I looked over and it was that man who got out of the cab. He apparently had a car and as soon as he left from staring at me, he got in and followed me to where my car was. He just parked there and was staring at me with the same creepy smile on his face but with no other indication of any self-awareness. The only thing I could think to do was to run back up to the party. Unfortunately, I left my purse in the passenger seat and left my door unlocked because I was so freaked out that I just wanted to get as far away from this man as possible. I knocked on the door and told my friend and her boyfriend. John came out to the balcony with me and the car was still there. We called the hotel lobby and asked for them to send the security guard to escort me to my car. The guard came by, an overweight fellow who looked really unhappy to be there. He just knocked on the motel door and he didn't even walk me down. He barely even said anything. He just stood on the balcony looking down. I got tired of the situation, and since the creeper's car was gone, I decided to just race down and get in my car and leave. John walked me to my car, though, since the security guard was being a weirdo, I got in, started it, and zoomed out of there as fast as I could before that man showed up again. I did pause in my car to make sure John got back to the room safely before taking off on the frontage road, but my doors were locked and I was ready for imminent exit. This might not seem like much, but the way the man just got out of the cab and looked up at me really freaked me out. It's as if he was